Welcome to another episode of Strange Darkness Radio, YouTube edition. I'm here live at Dyer Lane in Roseville, California. We're here with Nick Perry. We're interviewing him about his experiences. For anyone who doesn't know, Dyer Lane has a super creepy history. It's kind of famous in Sacramento and Roseville. And I've heard stories about it since I was a kid. Researching for this, I was able to verify a few things. There's definitely a lot of folklore and legends that they're not verifiable, but that doesn't mean they didn't happen. So we'll get into the history and the folklore a little later. But for now, we're interviewing Nick Perry. Nick Perry had his own haunting experience right here on Dyer Lane, and he's going to share it with us. Do you mind telling us
So,
what happened?
It was September 13th, 2019, and it was Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming home from a friend's house, and I was coming down Alberta, and I was like, oh, that's Dyer Lane right there, So I cut down the road real quick and pulled out my camera, and I was just going to be like, hey, I'm going to show off, be like, hey, look at me, guys. I'm on Dyer Lane at 2:30 in the morning on Friday the 13th. I can't focus. Stupid Dyer Lane. That's when I actually saw a light. Well, at first, my camera just was not focusing. It would not focus no matter what. And I'm just like, what the hell's wrong with this damn thing, And then as I started coming down this stretch right here, it came into focus, and I see this light off in the distance out in this field.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that maybe, it was a light on a house or something, like a motion light or something. But then I realized that it was moving towards the road. And so I panned my camera over there, and that's when I see it walk right through this freaking barbed wire fence.
Right.
And the light source was its face.
Yeah.
Oh shit! The fuck? Dude, I fucking saw something, dude. Oh my fucking god, I'm fucking out of here. What the fuck was that? Fuck this goddamn fucking radio. Holy fuck.
You can see in the video it has like a white face and then just black.
Yeah.
Kind of sheer.
But you can't, but no feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like a physical object. I mean, it's totally transparent, but you could still see it.
The only thing you couldn't see through was the light source.
Yeah, so like the face.
Yeah, the face, or whatever that was.
So you were driving up this way, and you saw it on your right-hand side, and then did it cross with the car, or what happened after that?
Well, as soon as I seen it go through the fence, it took us like a step on the road, and I freaked out, and I dropped my camera, and I took off, I gunned it, and I'm fumbling for my camera, I grabbed it again, and I was just kind of holding it in my hand as I'm driving, but I'm doing 90 on this road, and it's a dangerous road.
To get out of there.
I couldn't get out of here fast enough, it felt like, and...
So it scared you.
Yeah, I've never been so scared in my life. I've never seen anything like that ever in my life.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a little kid, I experienced something in my house I grew up in, but I think my father passed away in that house, so I think it was him. It was harmless. I didn't feel afraid, but this, I immediately was just like full of fear.
Dread.
Yeah, just full of fear. And all I wanted to do was get away from here, and it felt like I just couldn't move fast enough. It was like one of those bad dreams. You're trying to run, and you're not going anywhere. And that's how I felt. And so ever since then, it hasn't gone away. And
then you said you heard some static on the radio, or something weird came on the radio. Was that same incident?
Yeah, no, so... are you talking about like when I had like my car stereo?
Well, in the video, I thought I heard... Once you see it and you're like, oh, what is that?
Oh,
and
that was
throw
just
your camera.
That was just a song by Gus.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't.
It was just a song on the radio.
Okay.
But speaking of radio interference, I was so one day I was leaving to go get my son working a barbecue, and I was already experiencing some weird stuff in the house. So I set up a camera, and I have two phones, so I put one on my dresser, and I called it. And I put them both on speakerphone, and so I could listen while I was driving to my son's house to get him. And and I could hear everything on my speakerphone. And I heard a noise that sounded like maybe somebody came home, like my sister or something. So I'm like, hello, and right when I did that, all of a sudden I picked up this weird radio interference on my car stereo, which was off. And it wasn't, I never have it on the radio or anything. I only have it just for, an auxiliary cord. That's it.
Okay.
And yeah.
So you don't listen to the radio, you always have it set to aux.
Yeah, I don't,
okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it picked up this weird radio interference, and it was strange. And you could
Do you remember what it sounded like?
You could hear a little bit of talking. It sounded very like mechanic.
So back to the original incident, do you believe that that's what is at your house now? Do you believe it followed you?
Yeah.
You do? You think it's connected?
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to like say 100%.
Right. You don't
Because
know.
I don't know, but I think it's connected somehow.
Because it started around that time, right? Or maybe a little later.
It was about a year after I had seen it. That's when I started actually experiencing things. It started off as getting a feeling of being watched, to footsteps, to knocking on the door, to things moving, and voices, footsteps on the roof.
And does this kind of stuff, or at least in the beginning, did it only happen when you were alone? Did it only happen to you, or does it happen constantly all the time?
My sister and her boyfriend, they would hear things. And he's seen that one shadow that one time, but never anything like physically move. But when I was at home alone, every time I was alone, it would start moving things.
So you've actually witnessed things moving in front of you.
I had this thing fly at me out of my freaking closet.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. And then I ran out of the house. That was this night that I ran out of the freaking house, and I come back and my closet doors are mirrors. Well, I had this huge crack down the mirror.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that wasn't there when I ran out that night, and you could see it on the camera. I'm just like, what the hell?
Wow. Dude, that's creepy.
Yeah. And but now it's kind of like getting more and more physical. It pulls on my shirt or it touches me.
Right.
And I haven't like felt like I'm in danger, but it's definitely like
It's still a creepy. It's not a good
contact.
feeling.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you're in danger.
I don't.
Have
know.
you ever, or?
Well, it scares me. I don't know what
just
it is.
scares me.
Like I said, I've lost days of time, and I don't understand that. But as like a physical danger, I don't feel that I'm in physical danger.
Even when it threw the thing at you?
That was, I don't know. That was weird. But I don't know.
Have you tried to like communicate with it? Have you ever tried to tell it to leave or just ask what it wants or anything like that?
I don't think I've ever asked it what it wanted, but I have told it to leave, or to stop. I was walking into my office and it started dragging one of the kitchen chairs.
Oh.
And I said, hey, stop. And it kept dragging. I was like, stop. And it stopped.
You don't have that on recording, do you?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then it stopped, and I was like, it listened to
So
me.
we listened.
Yeah.
And you don't, so have you done that ever again? Like asked it to leave or whatever, told it to stop? And do you notice if it gets aggressive or angry after you do that, or do you just pretty much try to ignore it and not communicate with it?
I've always heard that you don't want to try to communicate with it in case it is like a dark entity or something. So I try my best not to
engage.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you have to. It's not, you're just like, what the hell was that? Yeah, you're like, hello? But yeah, it's just, it's weird. And I can't
imagine. And like, I've always kind of thought, you know, if I had a haunting in my house or a ghost in my house, I would just want to talk to it and record it 24/7. But I know that it's not really like that. It's not a happy, fun thing when it's happening to you. It drains you,
Yeah,
right?
it does. It does. It drains me mentally and physically, you know, and
Feel tired, or
yeah.
how does it affect you physically?
I get tired, tired, but I can't sleep, you know, like almost like I don't know, like I'm not tired, but I feel tired, you know,
Like
and
insomnia kind of.
yeah, like I want to close my eyes, but they just don't want to close, you know, but I think it might have affected me maybe physically. Like I was getting bloody noses for a while, and I don't
Oh yeah, I
do
saw
that.
that on your videos too.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't have any health problems or anything like that, but
When did that start happening?
that was last year. It hasn't happened.
Recently.
No,
Okay,
not at all.
so it stopped. That's good.
But yeah, that was weird, you know, and it wasn't due to like the weather or anything, and I don't have any like health problems, so
Yeah,
it was
so
just
it's
so
completely
weird.
random.
Yeah,
Huh.
and it happened a lot more than what I got on video. It happened a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and it'd just be randomly just start like sometimes just dripping, and I'm just like, what the hell's wrong with my fucking nose right now, you know?
And
But,
you didn't notice, like, would the nosebleeds happen, you know, like maybe they only happened when you left the house, or maybe they only happened
it was
after
usually
something
at
happened?
the house.
Okay.
Yeah, only a couple times it happened when I wasn't home, and that actually only happened once when I wasn't home, and that was right after we moved into this place.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was it only,
That's
but that was
weird.
the last time it happened. But yeah, just weird things.
Well, that's interesting that it kind of stopped after you moved. Maybe the
Yeah,
energy got a little lighter because of the
or
new place or something.
maybe it's just affecting me differently.
Right. It's just changed
Yeah.
because of the location change.
One day, my sister and her boyfriend were home, and it was just them. Well, her boyfriend, he smokes a lot of pot, and so he thought I was home, and he saw a dark figure go from the bathroom to their room, and he thought it was me, and he's like, Nick, you know, get out of our room. What are you doing? And my sister's like, Nick's not here. He's at work.
Oh,
and
shit.
then he's like, well, Dylan, you know, my son, he's like, Dylan, get out of there. And she's like, he's at work too, you know, and he's kind of like my wife in a way where he's just
He
like,
doesn't wanna talk
well,
about
I didn't, you know, I didn't see it.
Really?
Yeah. He's
So
like,
he won't open up about it, or like.
now,
he's not into
sometimes
it?
he will, but most of the times he's like, if I pretend it wasn't there, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't blame him.
Yeah.
But what about your sister? Oh, sorry.
Oh, and then, well, one day, me and my sister, I just got home from work, and I was just kind of, bullshitting with her in her room. And we hear this like woman's voice like chime in as if they were agreeing with us, but we couldn't understand what it was saying. And
you both heard it?
yeah, we both heard it. We both looked at each other, and I was like, what the hell was that, you know?
That's weird.
And shortly after that, my sister and her boyfriend again heard this woman screaming at the top of her lungs, like screaming, and it sounded like she was saying something. She was screaming, and they searched the whole damn house, outside, everything, nothing. You know, and they, again, couldn't understand what it was saying.
Where was it coming from? It was coming from in the house?
Yeah.
Like, for sure?
They couldn't even, like pin it down, like, what area it was coming from. They just heard it.
Yeah.
And so they searched the whole house. They went outside, you know, and asked neighbors if they heard somebody screaming.
Huh.
Yeah. But nobody heard anything. And for a while, I was thinking that maybe it was that house, because I know, you know, hundreds of years ago, there's that one tribe that used to be out in Sacramento area, the Nisani or whatever, the Nisani tribe. So, well, they'd follow the streams. That's where their source of water would be. There's a
they'd live
stream,
near.
that's a natural stream behind our house.
Right. Okay.
And so I'm thinking maybe it has to do with something like that, but
Yeah, and water kind of has a way of attracting energy or something
Yeah.
like that anyway. So.
but I don't think so. I mean, I've
You
tried
think it's
every,
following you, though? You
Yeah,
don't think it's...
I've tried every avenue there is to explain to myself what it could be, and try and maybe point it at another direction instead of me.
Right.
You know, but it's just coming back this way.
But at least you know you're not crazy, because you've experienced it, your son, your wife, and
My
your sister's
sister,
boyfriend,
yeah.
even though they don't want to talk about it, your sister.
Yeah, she's fully open to talk about it. She's
Your sister.
Yeah, she's crazy. I don't know why she's not scared of it. Maybe because it targets me,
Yeah, so she doesn't have to face up to it.
Yeah.
You take all the
Yeah.
flack. So, it's starting to get dark. I know you don't like to be out here when it gets dark, but do you mind, unless there's anything else you can remember, any experiences that stick out that we haven't gone over yet, do you mind getting into like the research you've done on Dyer Lane?
Back in the 1800s, I know it was a farm, the Dyer farm.
Okay, late 1800s.
Yeah, late 1800s.
Okay.
Now, I'm not too sure what happened with the Dyer family. There's stories that he killed his whole family and killed himself.
Right.
But I know in 1898 is when they named this road Dyer Lane. So it was never a road before then. But there's been legends, from, like witches, to satanic rituals. And I mean, the witch story, it was, 4 witches, and these boys actually followed them because they would do their rituals out here.
Right, they were stalking them and attacked
killed
them.
Yeah, killed them. And then there's the satanic deal. They sacrificed one of the cult members' sisters.
Oh, I've heard that story.
To summon some sort of demon or something like that. But that's hard to believe.
And it worked.
Yeah,
I read that it worked.
It worked supposedly, and it killed everybody in the freaking cult or whatever. But that one, I'm just like, eh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
A lot of unverified legends and stories.
There's this story of a hitchhiker back in the 70s. He was walking through here, he was just a drifter. And he kind of hung around for a few days, and so he got to know some of the people around here. And one day one of the people that lived on this road at that time, they heard him screaming like he was being murdered. And they came running out and found him on the ground dying. And he was saying something about, can you hear her? Can you hear her screaming or something like that? Something about someone else, but a female.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was, if it had to do with.
When was that supposed to be?
The 70s.
70s. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean that's just one of the legends. I don't know if I believe in any of the legends, but throughout the 100 years, it's made its own history regardless.
Yeah, there have definitely been some multiple legit murders out here. Yeah. There's been car accidents.
And there has really been some satanic shit out here. And
recently.
Yeah, with the several mutilated animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what kind. I didn't read too far into that, but.
Yeah, I need to check into that story more. But yeah, they'd found mutilated animals. You said it was a few months ago?
Just like 2 months ago at the most.
That was recent.
Yeah.
There's been gang activity out here. I know that I don't know. I think that there's been some murders because of that. There was that tussle or whatever, that fight that happened in the 80s, right?
Yeah, the 80s, I guess you'd say like punk rock gangs, I think is what they were. Yeah, and there was a huge brawl out here between Rio Linda High School and some other high school.
Right, and there was supposed to be like 100 students that came for the fight. And then
there really was, and one dude got stabbed to death.
Yeah.
And that actually was right here on this curve is where it happened.
Oh, right here in front of the tower. Oh my gosh.
Well, I don't know if that tower was there then, but yeah, it was right here on this curve, corner.
And then I know that I've heard of multiple, but I don't know how many are true, but I know that there's been accidents over on that corner where people, they'll be speeding or whatever, they don't realize that there's a turn. Yeah. And then I believe that guy was even telling us there was a tree there that they tore down, but they hit the tree and flew out of the car. And
yeah, I've heard those stories too.
There's been a few accidents.
Before that night that I seen that shadow, my sister and her boyfriend were out here, and it was probably about this time, it wasn't all the way dark. And, me and my son were cruising around, and my sister called me. I was like, hey, where are you at? And she's like, I'm on Dyer Lane, come and meet us out here. I was like, all right. And so we came from this way, and they were on the actual Dyer Lane under the tree line. And I could see their brake lights, or their car. No, I saw brake lights. I didn't see their car. But as I'm getting closer, I could see that here's their car and here's another vehicle. And so we pull up, and I was like, hey, what did those people want in that car? My sister's like, what people? I'm like, there's a car right here. Like, what did they want? She's like, there's nobody here.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And
they didn't see the car?
Yeah. And I was like, there was somebody here. I saw somebody's brake lights. And she's like, no, nobody was here, dude.
Yeah. And that's another big legend on this road. There's supposedly
Like a
people will
ghost
be
car.
chased by ghost cars. There's supposedly in the 50s there was a car accident, like a cop in his car had an accident and he died.
He got killed by, I guess he pulled over supposedly the way the story goes, he pulled over a KKK member, and that guy shot him. As he walked up to the car, he shot him to death and drove off, and they never found the killer, supposedly. But that's just one of those legends, so I don't know. But then there's been, ever since then, a ghost car. People have reported being pulled over by a cop.
Exactly. They'll get pulled over, and then they look behind them, and there's no cop car. Yeah. So a lot of creepy things reported on Dyer Lane. It's a creepy place.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's weird. It's like its own little world.
It's like going back in time. I mean, being out here, there's nothing around. It looks just like empty fields and, you know, maybe what used to be ranches and stuff, but it's very strange coming from, you know, Sacramento, Roseville, the city, and then all of a sudden you're out here.
Turn on this road, it's nothing.
Yeah, it looks like you're in the middle of nowhere. It's very creepy. All right. Yeah. Well, so thank you so much for joining us, Nick. It was great having you on our show. Thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And can you tell your socials, actually? I know you have the YouTube channel, The Hooker.
Yeah, that's like pretty much the only thing is just the Hooker and on YouTube, and I call it The Hooker because I'm a tow truck driver. So if anyone wants to know why, that's why. Yeah, so it's The Hooker because I'm a tow truck driver. But yeah, just The Hooker on YouTube.
And Instagram.
Instagram, I don't really have anything like about this. I don't think.
Okay, so just YouTube.
Yeah.
And then you can also check out Nick's some of his clips on Project Dark Night Horror. I think there's a few on Nuke's Top 5.
Darkest Secret. Also Casper Site. There's one other one. Depths of Despair.
That's a good channel. Yeah. So check Nick out. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.